Welcome into the Stuck in the Catch Fence weekly show. A little bit slower on the news, but some things did come out as if you didn't need another reason to doubt NASCAR sanctioning body. They decided to rescind Ryan Blaney's, his loss in last place. And also we talk about the playoff ratings are down. Is it because who's left in the playoffs, who's not in the playoffs, a little bit of both? You'll learn next here on Stuck in the Catch Fence. Welcome in. The last part of that clip actually was me trying to be in an online lobby one time in iRacing. Yeah, it looked just like that. I didn't know I was three wide. But speaking of somebody that's done a little bit of iRacing, but really just lives on the real dirt, the real track. I'm with Travis Butt. How are you, buddy?
Hanging in there, hump day, trying to get through the week. Been a long week, but we are here. Speaking of iRacing, I need to get on there a little bit more. I was addicted there for a while, but been off of it for a little bit.
Too much winning? Just get bored winning?
I think just people on there that didn't know what they were doing, and I was so over it. It got so populated there for about 2 months that people were getting on there that thought they knew NASCAR or racing and stuff, and they were just not good, and it just pissed me off.
Yeah, that happens on something like that is. Were you in like the free tracks, or were you on the paid tracks? Because
it was in like racing leagues that people paid money for, and just people just did not belong. People just sitting there wasting $50, $75 every race to just wreck. I mean, come on now. Like, I'm there to win money, not wreck out and throw my crap all over the room because I'm ticked off.
That's true. And you got a lot of Pepsi bottles that explode, and it's a bad showing. But actually, our quick question, because NASCAR put out a poll and they wanted to know what features you would like in the new NASCAR console video game. So Travis, instead of answering those questions, which you can do at NASCAR.com and get those type of information in, I was going to ask you what your favorite NASCAR video game of all time is.
Easily NASCAR Thunder 2004. Not even a question. I would take that game in a PS4 any day of the week, and I would gladly play that every night. I don't think Erica would be very happy about that, but I would play that any night. I just always thought the gameplay was awesome. Now, I will say that you couldn't really bump draft. You couldn't do things like that, but the gameplay, the career mode was awesome. I thought it had a lot of good build-up. There was rivals. I thought the game, like Rusty Wallace and Jeff Gordon were rivals, and the game portrayed that.
Yeah.
The career mode was awesome. We started at the very bottom. You started with stuff, and then you eventually got sponsorship when you ran better. If you ran like crap, you didn't get no sponsorship. So I thought the game portrayed exactly what it does, and EA Sports, it's in the game.
Yeah. So it's sad that's probably the best realistic gameplay on a console that we've had in 20 years. We haven't had a NASCAR game remotely close to that. To be honest, that was going to be my answer if I was going to follow your footsteps, but I actually am not. I'm going to go with NASCAR Racing 2003, made by Papyrus, the same people that actually started into iRacing whenever they went out of business.
Did you see that video that they came out with that someone said the same coding that they used in 03 could be used in the new one? And then they went through the whole list of how those people were then bought out by iRacing. I said, I had no clue about that.
Yes. And I did the iRacing scene for a brief minute, and then I decided to just go ahead and download NASCAR Racing 2003. And I have over 4 decades worth of paint schemes about everything you can imagine. It's still a little bit old, but as you know, with iRacing, the coding on it's still a little bit old. It's not definitely the most graphically advanced gameplay, but still 20 years later, the gameplay is still fun on NASCAR Racing 2003. So I do I have a wheel, and I get on it from time to time, and it's amazing that my wheel that came out last year is still capable of running on something that was that old. So I remember my favorite thing was being at my babysitter's house. I was in 2003. So, I mean, I was 12, 13 years old. Remember getting off the bus, running in there, and I would always run the Bristol night race. I have no idea why. I just loved running the Bristol night race, and all I could use was a keyboard, and it was an absolute blast. I do want to give one honorable mention to NASCAR 98 because
The dirt.
no, you could the paintballs. You could do the cheat where you press L1, L2, R1, R2 4 times in a row, and you got to use paintballs that automatically spun people out. That was the coolest thing ever at the time. And now looking back at those graphics, it's amazing how our memory makes it. You think like, man, that was just a great game. And you look at it now and you're like, oh my God, was this hand drawn? And like people just were flipping a book to get the graphics on it. I don't know. So that is my honorable mention.
Did you ever have the NASCAR PC when it first came out? It was the NASCAR PC. I remember when that first came out, I bought it, and then we spent $20 at the Walmart, $19.99, sorry, that you got to spend that. And because I said, oh, I don't want to get the other one because it's $35. For the $35 one would have paid for my PS2. And I didn't know the $19.99 one was for the PC. So then I had to go buy that other NASCAR game, which was a lot of fun. But I was just thinking about that. I was like, wow, there's some games out there. I can't believe some of these games are over 20 years old. Wow.
The good ones. The good ones are over 20 years old. Unfortunately, what we've had here recently, which the NASCAR Heat Series wasn't terrible, but it still doesn't, especially the career mode like you're talking about, Travis, just out there running
not
an
close.
Unsponsored car, getting rivals, things like that. There is nothing close to that.
NASCAR Heat 2 was pretty solid, and NASCAR Heat 3 was okay. But that was the only thing. I played that a lot in college. A lot. It was always, I was playing that. My buddies were playing Fortnite.
Oh, God. That's rough. Truex fan who has no idea what we're talking about on NASCAR Thunder. Hi, Truex fan. Hopefully you're doing all right. And, got your homework done before you go to bed. So, yeah, those are some quick questions. That's our quick question. So if you want to let us know what your favorite NASCAR game is, feel free to in the comments below. But let's go ahead and jump in today's NASCAR news. All right, so starting off with the NASCAR news, we will do something a little bit lighthearted because, well, there wasn't a lot of news. We did have one person try to do the news with us, Travis, but you did not want to make this a 3-man band. Erica said that she would gladly jump in and share her knowledge with us, her expertise, and boy, did she get the hammer down. Drop the jack before even the wheels were put on the tires.
She can do a nursing podcast. Or whatever that is. She can do that. I have no part of that. When it comes to NASCAR, that's our thing. That's our thing. She'd be talking about some Indy 500. She'd be talking about some Indy 500 thing from back in the day or something that she thought of that was yesterday. That was really in 2006 when like Sam Hornish won or something.
First off, nursing podcast sounds terrible. But I mean, you better like chill because Peter Griffin had a back of the head punch coming one time, and I don't want you to follow the same fate that he had. But I did want to start off lighthearted with Bubba and Blaney. They were on Twitter, and if you did not know they were friends, and this was the first time you were logging on Twitter, they had a back and forth where Ryan Blaney, mentioned that the penalty was taken away. He reposted that. I don't know, X, whatever the hell it is. It's Twitter, all right? We're not changing it. It's Twitter. So he retweeted it that the penalty was going to be changed, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And Bubba kind of put an eye rolling emoji, and then they just go back and forth. And it was pretty funny. One was talking about choking, and then Ryan Blaney says, well, you can't choke because you were suspended for that race, which, Travis, you would know that, after trying to punk out Kyle Larson after sending him headfirst into the wall. And then just back and forth. And it seemed like tongue-in-cheek comedy. I still think there's a little bit of seriousness to it until they finally like, all right, the gig's up. But what was your thoughts whenever you were looking at that Twitter timeline?
I mean, I think they were all 100% serious. I mean, yeah, were they joking? Yes, but it's just, you can just tell they were two good buddies because they ended the comment saying, "You want to get a beer after this?"
Right.
So it was funny. It was good. It was good laughter. I think some people weren't getting it because they thought they had some kind of beef. They didn't know their relationship. Some people were like, "Oh my God, they're fighting. Like, we're going to have drama, blah, 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 blah." But like you and I and some of the very, very, very serious NASCAR fans, knew that, hey, it's just funny. This is good comedy. I don't follow either, but I was seeing myself click on their name a good time to see if someone rebutted. I was really hoping Bubba would come out and say, because he said he had a really good one that would end it all, and he never came out with it. So whatever, it was good comedy fun. It was good comedy fun. It was a good Tuesday. Was that Monday or was it Tuesday? It was Monday.
It was Monday. Yes, you're right. Because I remember at lunch at work, I was watching it unfold. I will tell you this, for the show, would have been great if it was serious, because then we would have had something really entertaining to talk about. People would have got their pitchforks and lit shit on fire because Bubba made somebody mad, and Ryan Blaney actually would have showed a little bit of an emotion for a couple minutes, but it was very tongue in cheek. It still seemed a little bit more personal, like I got I have some stuff that I want to say.
They took some to the heart. I mean, come on, when when Blaney said that you had to sit out last week, Bubba took that to heart a little bit. Last year you had to sit out this race, so you might get a chance this time. I think Bubba took that a little bit to the heart.
Yeah. And the look at you learning actually was my favorite thing of the entire time, when Ryan Blaney said, "Look at you learning." But it is. We've mentioned it before that these guys need some personalities, and maybe that's not the way that their sponsors want to see them use their personalities. But to me, I enjoyed it. It actually earned Ryan Blaney a follow. So hopefully that will be the norm coming forward. Is I get to see more South Park memes and things like that, but I doubt it. I highly doubt it. So again, I told you it was a slow news week. I thought we were going to have all kinds of news, but we didn't get all kinds of news. So that's on me. But something you wanted to talk about when we were chatting off air was that John Hunter Nemechek will be in the 42 car this weekend. And Travis, I know you find this interesting because typically we don't see teams of different manufacturers allow such a thing happen. So go ahead and expound on why this is curious to you.
It's just a little bit, you say you put someone in there for the car for the rest of the year, and then the week of the race, probably one of the most fun tracks, you tell him he's not going to race the event. It's like you're going to grandma's because you always get a cookie, and then she says, "I ran out of sugar. I don't have anything. Sorry, no cookies, but you can come sit in the living room and do nothing." That's what Carson said. He's going to sit at the pit box and watch. If it was me in that position, I would be a little fire under my rear end, a little mad, just to know that I knew I was going to go to probably one of the more fun. Like if it was like a Martinsville or
Phoenix.
Yeah, it was just like not a fun track. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, go for it." Like I have no problem with that. But Homestead's actually a lot of fun, and I'd be a little hurt if I was him. It's kind of interesting. I see what they're trying to do. But at the same time, what is that going to benefit you? Because it'd be different if John Hunter was coming over to drive a Chevy car. They're not really. Yes, is it the same? The same components underneath. Same chassis. I guess you can talk in a sense, but it is a different aero package. We're talking about a different body, things like that. So, they're still trying to learn. They're still going to try to learn his craft, get him a little acclimated. Well, John last year ran at Homestead. He actually did really well in Bubba's car when they ran last year. He was top 3 in speed until he crashed in practice, and then you didn't see him you didn't see him for the rest after that. So it's interesting to me. I'd be a little disappointed if I was Carson. I mean, I think he's being a good sport about it because he knows he has a full-time ride next year, but I don't know. I think you find out the week of probably the more popular race that you want to race, especially from Carson's talent. And then you get told that someone from a different manufacturer is coming to race the car that you got told that you would race the final 3 races, and now you get on the sideline and just watch.
Yeah, I'm with you. I found it very interesting. I felt like, you never see these manufacturers allow other drivers to switch and put themselves under a different manufacturer. I mean, that's never happened. Granted, Legacy Motor Club is a lame duck as a Chevy, but at the same time, you're kind of it's interesting to me that Toyota was like, yeah, we'll let Hunter Nemechek go under a Chevy. So like if he does do really good, like you mentioned, he did have speed last year. He did look good. Then it's like, oh, John Hunter Nemechek got a top 5 and is on TV in a Chevy.
Well, here's the other thing you think about is, Legacy essentially admitted that Chevy has kind of taken away their, ties essentially.
Oh,
they're doing everything. They're doing everything in house. Yeah. So it makes you wonder, like, all right, what information did they share to the people that essentially are going to give them all the information? Because just like Denny Hamlin said in his podcast this week, that 2311 sits in all the Joe Gibbs meetings now, and they all sit together. So, Legacy is going to be sitting in those meetings now. So there's going to be a big old round table between them all. So, there's probably some information going there, because they even said a partnership between Team Chevy, Team Toyota, and Joe Gibbs Racing. So, some kind of money was probably stirred up, or, Toyota, Chevy was probably like, we're not giving you any money anyways. Like, we could give a shit less if you in that car. So how about, if you want to do that, go for it. We don't care. And Toyota was like, yeah, like, go ahead and get him in a seat just to see what he can, get him a little bit prepared for next year. So,
right.
That's how I look at it. I don't know. I feel more for, I think John Hunter is going to be great. I think he's going to be a good driver. I feel more for the side of what are the effects of it. And the effects is like Carson getting told that he gets to race the last 3 races and he has to just sit in the pit box at the most fun track. Like, I'd be a little ticked if that was me, but
yeah. Well, there's nothing Carson can do about it. I mean, they hold the key to the.
He's just a sub.
Yeah. So Martin Truex fan with a very shocking announcement. Thanks, Martin Truex fan.
Is he whining the championship, or is he winning the championship?
He probably, Martin Truex don't whine a lot, so that's tough. We'll just give it a typo. And Ricky Roberts says, "Great stuff, man." He must be talking about you, Travis, and so good input there. So yeah, I think overall, I'm surprised a little bit. It makes more sense from a legacy aspect, but again, just the whole manufacturing thing with it, that makes it interesting. But it will be a good test to see John Hunter, see if he can run with the big dogs in this car that's been doing better, and exactly how well he does do. Because next year, looking at the rookie race, does John Hunter actually get to qualify as a rookie again?
No, he ran
since he did
2014 or 2015 when he ran a full year. I think it was 2015 when he ran. It was Jeff Gordon's last year, I'm pretty sure, when he ran a full year, because he got rookie of the year that year.
Okay,
so he's already ran it under.
That's what I was thinking. So you got Carson, who probably will be the clear favorite for rookie of the year next year. It would be nice to have a decent rookie battle. But
who else would be rookie next year? It'd be Josh Berry, Carson.
Zane. I don't think Zane will run enough races to be rookie.
Yeah. So you got Carson, you got Zane, you have Josh Berry.
Yeah, Van Gisbergen won't run enough races to probably qualify to be rookie of the year, even though he'll be a rookie in 3 series next year.
So will it be those 3?
That's probably it. I mean, when it comes to what you would think the biggest battle would probably be Josh Berry and Carson Hocevar.
Yeah, I would
say that. I mean, if it was
Zane's,
this year,
Zane's ran more races than all of them, though.
Yeah,
so that'd be interesting.
Yeah, and Josh Berry's ran in the best equipment out of all.
Yes, he has.
So far. So, yeah, that'll be interesting. But something that actually will be positive for Stewart Haas is they are going to have a nice little cool throwback here for when Harvick won the championship. And you're like, what are you talking about? We get to see a sponsor we haven't seen in a while. and they're making a very appropriate return. Budweiser will be rocking that car, and I got to admit, that's a sweet looking ride. Even though I don't partake with Budweiser, I don't like the fact that the behind the four, they should have just made that bow tie bigger, or they should have had beer pouring out of that can. Otherwise, it's just big wasted space. But we know Anheuser-Busch has made some more questionable decisions than that recently. So
rip.
So the five of you that enjoy a good Budweiser, you'll have at least one car to pour it out to here at this track. Name the Forever Champion 400. Is that what it is? The Forever Champion.
I think it's Forever. It's Forever 400 presented by Mobile One.
Okay.
Forever 400 presented by Mobile One.
Yes. So everything thrown back to Kevin Harvick.
It's not Dixie Vodka anymore. It's Forever 400 presented by Mobile One.
Yeah. Hopefully when Kyle Busch, whenever he retires, we get the Bushy still bitching 450 or something like that. That would be
Bushy
great.
McBush. Bushy McBush. Yeah, whatever that was. That was kind of funny.
Cryle Bushy bitch 450. And everybody gets to vote on it, and it'll be great. I need him to be the villain again. I don't like all the love anymore. But no, going back to Kevin Harvick, that cool thing for him, winning a championship at this track. We still should be granting a champion at this track, but that's a different topic for a different day. But just a nice little send off there from Homestead.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I thought it was cool. You and I were texting back and forth. That was a cool little paint scheme. And, it was cool to see that they, did something like that. They've had a lot of cool throwback stuff, and the other teams been doing a lot of cool throwbacks. So it was cool to see them bring it back out. That 2014 was a sore subject though. But I was glad to see him win it that year, especially in his first year with, Stuart Haas. So cool little throwback.
The next piece of news, and we kind of alluded to it earlier, is Ryan Blaney has his penalty rescinded. The information on this is that the part that NASCAR uses to measure the shocks was malfunctioned or didn't work right or whatever. So from my understanding of it, maybe you can rebuttal, Travis, if you've heard more, is that the part that they used to measure the shock was actually more than what it should have been. And the part that they used should have went up more, but it didn't. So then they found out that the part was bad and that the shock was still actually within normal limits. The part that makes this more interesting, well, number one, last year Ryan Blaney had some stuff happen into the playoffs to where he was allowed in whenever it looked like it was going to be between Martin Truex and Ryan Blaney, and then it didn't end up being that way. Anyway, it was really boring to get into the playoffs. Nobody else had this issue that they measured with this shock. Only Ryan Blaney's car was outside of the boundary that was allowed by NASCAR. So the only person that this would have affected was Ryan Blaney. So again, let the rumors fly. NASCAR fans love to throw out their 2 cents when it comes to being treated certain ways. But Travis, what are your overall thoughts when it comes to the penalty being rescinded for Mr. Blaney?
So on most cars, especially these spec cars, you have measuring points on all your, where they're, measuring when they do a teardown. So they have all these points where they can probably plug in a camber gauge, or they can plug in, these measuring things like templates. They can just about slide in and measure. Right. I would assume, just from speculation, where they're talking about is when they went to go slide the gauge on. When I went to go slide the gauge or whatever to measure it, someone didn't measure it correctly. I'm guessing they just said, oh, it failed, and they put it on there again. You would think that there would be a system of like double checking, triple checking, who says that part didn't get bent or whatever. But they probably went to go measure it and said, well, this is not measuring correctly, because there is a maximum or minimum on that shock. If you can, the shorter the shock, the closer that ball that it gets to the ground, that could probably help you more of a short track. But if you can get that shock up, that also gets air underneath to the diffuser that gives you some downforce too. So there's definitely, stuff. I think like you said, I think it was too high. which could lead to, diffuser getting more downforce, things like that. So
If
it
they
was just
had
probably,
problems with the right rear, you could be taking the balance off of it. So
yeah.
where,
So, yeah. So there's, like I said, I think someone just made a mistake. And, the way I read it is they took that shock back to NASCAR. They took it back to North Carolina and looked at it and said, well, this shock is just like all the other ones. Why did we fail this one? And, kudos to NASCAR for saying, hey, we screwed up. Like, we're just going to be honest with you. We totally effed this up. So we're going to give you back your points and everything. And, they're probably made some adjustments. They're probably going to start another check. They're going to probably go through and make sure. So I would guarantee you that these tech inspections are going to take twice as long now, or just a little bit longer, because everyone's going to go through and double check everyone and make sure there's no mistakes, because, that's embarrassing. It really is. Not from our standpoint, but I think it's embarrassing NASCAR saying, like, hey, we messed this up, because they could have easily probably gone through the appeal process, and it probably wouldn't have been as big a deal if they went through the appeal process and then said, hey, like, your stuff isn't messed up. Like, we'll let this one go. I don't know. You got a vice versa, because, people would be like wondering. So they'll probably bring in more and stuff on Saturday and explain maybe what happened a little bit more. But I'm guessing they had a checkpoint and went to go measure, and the checkpoint could have been off a little bit, or vice versa. And,
the big question is, Travis, do we we have the table of shame? Do we have the table of justification to show that?
Do we have the table? Do we have the table of shame to show the bad part for check-in?
Yes, yes. And the actual, like you said, the scale there that they use, or whatever that is, the template, and they're like, this was the problem.
This is the bad. This right here was the bad meeting part.
Yeah. So I will say this. I do appreciate NASCAR's transparency. They tried to do this as swiftly as possible. I don't understand why they would hire the guy that made the manufactured part, the counterfeit part, at Stewart-Haas Racing to now be the guy that does this. I'm just kidding. That's probably not true. Maybe true, but probably not true. So, it would be interesting to see this in any other type of governing body for this to happen, like in football. It'd be interesting to say,
Deflategate.
Like, hey, we threw the guy out because we thought his bat looks absolutely corked, and then the next day, they're like, well, we screwed up, guys. It's not corked. They just painted it different on the inside. It's still wood. They just painted it a different color wood. I don't know how to.
Does anyone remember? Do you remember the football game where they had the replacement refs in the NFL?
Yes.
And they threw the touchdown at the end of the game, and it was intercepted, and they called it a touchdown.
It was Golden Tate. Yes, it was for the Seahawks. Yes, absolutely.
And then they came back and was like, that was a total. We can't change who won or lost the game, but that call was completely effed up, and we're sorry, but that
helped the referees get their jobs back.
Yes, it was like, hey, we'll pay you whatever you want. Just get your ass back onto the field so we can give you your money. But I think that's very similar in a sense, except he got his points back. But speaking of Stewart-Haas, speaking of them, was Kevin Harvick's stuff. So Denny Hamlin was talking about on his podcast this week about how everyone saw Kevin Harvick's windshield stuff. Okay. And he was saying that you can't believe that Rodney Childress and all of them were coming out and saying, like, oh, like they loosened up. Denny was like, it's impossible to loosen up. He goes, you could definitely tell that was fabricated to, be that way. Because it's like, it is a huge aero advantage, this and this. And, like Denny said, he goes, it makes you wonder, like, how many times they've done that at super speedways, or, they've noticed that they've done that in the past. But he goes,
that's bad if they've done it this year.
He says that you couldn't even really pull them off. He goes, you couldn't get them off. So he said it was very interesting, but I never saw anything, because usually Bob Pockers and some of them post pictures of like the walk of shame or someone posted a picture, but I saw nothing on those.
Yeah.
Speaking of cheating, I mean, if we're going to talk about that, we're about Ryan Blaney, but I just thought that was interesting. We didn't say anything about that.
I thought Rodney Childers his defense was rough because you're talking about something that screwed into the car, and he's just like, I tried to screw them in, and they just kept coming out. And I'm like, that seems like a big deal when that's the windshield. We're not talking like I was trying to, I don't know, screw on something underneath the car, that prevented the fascia from coming out. I don't know. That just make anything up. And they're like, no, we had a really hard time getting the windshield on this bitch. I don't know what the problem was, but
do you know that video?
And everything.
Do you know that video where the kid's sitting in the car seat and he goes, bullshit, 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 bullshit.
Yeah, that's great that you bring that up. But I thought the same thing. We do have a comment here by Truex fan. I agree with you 100%. We need pissed off crybaby, picking nose, throwing microphone down Kyle again. And while everybody else will hate it, I get to laugh when Kyle parks it right before going into the garage at Darlington. And that just makes my life happy when I get to see things like that and watch everybody else melt down. And then my good pastor, friend of the show, says, great show, Mike. We appreciate it. If you want to catch Mike, he has The Grueling Truth on Facebook, where they just did a NFL show tonight, and they have plenty of other content, some nice stuff there too. So again, that's The Grueling Truth Mike Goodpastor runs that. So thank you, Mike, for tuning in. Now we will move on really to the biggest thing, the biggest topic, that is the thumbnail. And the TV ratings are down, and my question is, what's the reason? But before getting into that, Travis, I want to preface it by this. Only NASCAR fans care about things when they're negative. I've never seen a group of people, especially online in the communities. And again, this is a passion thing that you and I talk about. NASCAR fans, there's one reason why I do this, because they're passionate. And the reason why I pull my head out at times too is when they see a half empty race, they complain that the race is half empty attendance wise, but they're also not there either. Mm-hmm. So I don't get what the point of that is. And then we never hear when the ratings are really, really good. You never just hear like, oh man, NASCAR has been dominating these ratings. Only when they're bad do people go, oh, it's the end of the sport. It's almost like the Chicken Little. They want to see this thing fail at times and say the clouds are falling. But all the other times, whenever the races have been really, really good or the product's been good, they never get it that same credit. So that being said, prefacing it in that way, the TV ratings are down for the playoffs. Travis, what do you think is the primary reason why that would be?
So, when things are good in NASCAR, they're good. When they're bad in NASCAR, there's a lot more to talk about. Let's start with, you brought up the attendance thing. I saw some tweets that said, oh my God, the place is half empty, blah, 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 blah. Well, guess what? If you go to Phoenix in 2 weeks, they only hold 40,000 fans. And guess what? Everyone's going to go, oh my God, like that place is packed, blah, 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 blah. Yep. Las Vegas has 80,000 they can hold. So that place is obviously going to look less full, although they got the almost the exact same amount of fans. So, they can say anything about the it's half full, this. You also got to look at the capacity, because if there's 40,000 fans in Las Vegas, it's going to look a hell of a lot different than 40,000 fans at Phoenix. I think the second thing, you got to think about the race started at 11 o'clock in Vegas.
Time. Yeah.
So when you start a race at 11:30, you're probably not going to get some of them West Coast fans tuning in. I don't care what anyone says. People are probably more worried about, the NFL going on, this and that. There's probably, 11 o'clock there. That's my opinion. I know that most of the time, though, I guess when races start at 2 o'clock, I guess it is around 11 o'clock there. But I think you have some very iffy. We are missing a key player in Chase Elliott. I will say that, he probably does drag some fans in, although he is in the owners, but a lot of people don't know that. But he does bring in some fans. I think you got NFL starting up. There's a lot of good games going on. There's a mix. I mean, I'm not looking into the numbers. I don't understand why people look into the numbers, because if you're going to watch, you're going to watch. I could give two craps less that there were 2.7 million people watching the race compared to 2.5 the year before, or, flip. I would I don't care less. I'd rather start stepping dog poop out in my yard. I care more about that than I do about TV ratings. But I don't know. There's a vice versa. I don't. In my opinion, I'm not looking into it that hard because I'm going to watch it no matter what. I'm going to enjoy it. You're going to enjoy the race no matter what. The people that talk about NASCAR are going to watch it no matter what. Who says that there wasn't a big old outage down in Colorado at every, this or that? I don't know. No one knows why ratings go down. I think, yes, were there more fans 20 years ago in NASCAR than they are now? Yes. I think there's, some play in that, but I don't know. You got Chase Elliott out of it. You got some of these other people out of it, some bigger names out of it. I don't know. I thought Las Vegas in third stage was a good race. I'm not looking into the ratings. I didn't really think about it that much. I don't know the reason. I just know that on Sundays and some Saturdays, I'm going to turn in to watch the race. You're going to tune in and watch the race. Everything in between.
Riley Herbst win by 16 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why NASCAR fans get so into the TV ratings. I'm like, you ask them, did you watch it? Well, yeah. Then who gives a crap about the TV ratings? Who says that 75 Hooter? Who says that the 350,000 Hooters out there didn't turn it on because of Chase Elliott?
Yeah,
I don't know. Who says some of these places aren't? You gotta look at. There's got to be some perspective in some of that, but I don't know. I don't look into them. I don't care. I mean, you might have some more say on what's the reason, but I don't care. I don't care.
More often than not, I don't. I think by having this show, I care enough to where I want to see it grow.
Yeah,
I don't. If it's a monumental and it's like a 35% decline, like you said, it wasn't that. I mean, we're talking like 2%. I think is what 2 to 5% is what you're looking at. You do want your playoffs to be meaningful and you want it to catch more eyeballs than the regular season. But to be completely honest, we typically have more drama in the regular season this year than we've had in the playoffs. We just haven't had guys going for it. But at the same time, I would say that last year's playoffs were probably the same way. There wasn't a whole lot of stuff that really moved the needle until a guy decided to ride the wall and got the attention of every single sport, every single fan out there with Ross Chastain doing what he did. I mean, when he rode the wall, you had Max Verstappen talking about, Lewis Hamilton, you had football players, basketball players, baseball players talking about this is the craziest thing they've ever seen. So we still know that NASCAR can move the needle. What are the players that have to do that? Well, no offense, Truex fan, Martin Truex isn't going to move the needle with his personality. We've already talked about William Byron enough, even though, he's been doing good. Kyle Larson is a guy that typically moves the needle. If we could have had a beaten out banging end of the Christopher Bell, Kyle Larson last lap, if we got to see a whole lap of that, then I would say to you, Travis, that we're probably going to watch more people see this week's race at Homestead and go, damn, if that's what NASCAR looks like and they got to make the Sports Center top 10, I'm going to watch that this week rather than, watching 60% of the NFL games have hit the under this year.
Yeah.
So there's different things that matter. I do think that there's absolutely a Chase Elliott effect and a Kyle Busch effect. Those are two guys that move the needle that aren't in. And to be completely honest, I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan. I love the Cincinnati Bengals. I have season tickets to it. When Kyle Busch is not in the playoffs, I do not check the race in the middle of the race just because I know my guy doesn't have a chance to win and I want to enjoy it organically when I get home.
Yeah. Where were you on Sunday for the Vegas race?
I was at the Cincinnati Bengals Stadium.
There you go. You were the reason why the TV ratings went down. It was all you. It was all your fault.
I still got to watch it. And we still got to do a show about it. And you're right. And I will say this. I've never in my life been asked if I've watched something before by somebody that counts this stuff. So I take what you will.
But here, do they, how do they, I don't even know how the ratings get graded. Like, do they go to Xfinity and Time Warner Channel and DirecTV and
I
What else
think
is
the
out there?
biggest thing that they go to is their own app. I mean, their app is the biggest thing that they can tell if people actually click on it, open it up, and things of that way. But we don't get to see if that's how they never have used that as a tracking mechanism for views. They just say earlier this year, they've had more downloads of the NASCAR app than ever before, and they've had more traffic during the season. Well, to me, that's good. That's a long-term commitment to put something on your phone that actually is going to take up space versus you clicking on a YouTube short that entered your mind and then left within 15 seconds.
I mean, I think I'm illegal. I mean, I got an unlocked Fire Stick that's illegal. I mean, if you guys want to come and arrest me, come find me.
He has he uses yeah, you're getting arrested anyway. So I don't know.
I mean, do I count as a rating? I mean, seriously though. I mean, how many people have like the streaming apps and things like that things like that. So I don't know. That's my opinion.
I like I said, I want to see the sport grow. I want to, move people to this channel because they love NASCAR and they want to talk about it after it's done as well. And so, it would not benefit me if this sport goes down in viewership and people moving the needle on that stuff. That being said, I feel like NASCAR recognizes that too. And they're going to do different things to where we enjoy that product differently with the new TV deal and things of that nature. But just a short span of things, I like you said, it's such a small sample size. We saw the ratings go down when Chase Elliott left, and then we also saw some of the best racing during that time as well. So I don't think he holds the key to the castle when it comes to the TV ratings, but I think it also would be naive to say that Chase Elliott and Kyle Busch and people really, really love Ross Chastain not being in the playoffs. You're going to have a small dip. And then if your football game wasn't that entertaining and you got to see Kyle Larson barely beat Christopher Bell, you could make that same decision this week to go, actually, I'm going to watch Homestead this week because I bet it's a much better race than, watching the Browns with their backup quarterback take on the Indianapolis Colts with their backup quarterback. Those are just the decisions. And also you have the MLB playoffs going on as well. So there are multiple factors. But at the same time, if you really want to grow it, make this video game really, really good. And I promise you, people that have never, ever played NASCAR or watched NASCAR, but have an enjoyable video game, they'll watch. Trust me, I've done it. I've played cricket video games for, hey, this is pretty fun. I'm going to learn a little bit more about cricket. Or I played an NHL video game and I'm like, hey, I want to actually learn a bit more about this sport because I'm not very good at this. That'll work. The Netflix series with Dale Earnhardt Jr., if it's really, really good, new eyeballs will come to the sport. You just have to do a better job promoting it. And NASCAR's not very good at promoting their stuff, a lot like the MLB. The MLB is not very good at promoting their stuff, and they need to do a better job of that. So while Travis looks like a little bit of some technical difficulties, we'll go ahead.
I'm still here. I don't know what happened. I'll fix it out. I'll still talk.
You're good. So we will jump into the race preview as we head to Homestead-Miami. Not going to lie, I thought that was a lot longer and almost choked on my Diet Dr. Pepper, trying to wet my whistle there. So we are heading to Homestead. We talked a little bit about that after the Las Vegas race, where this is a track with multiple grooves with the new Gen 7 car. This car needs a track with multiple grooves to see the type of racing that we really, really enjoy. And to kind of set you up with what I expect to see, you're going to have people like Kevin Harvick that are going to ride the white line. You're going to have people like Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick that are going to ride the top. And then you're going to have people move in the middle that are going to do what they can. And I think the biggest thing, Travis, is who can handle the weather whenever we go from sunset to darkness. That typically, like the Coca-Cola 600, is where we see the difference. Even in championship races back in the day, we've seen drivers not do really, really well at the beginning of that race, and then their car was set up for whenever it got dark, and then they take off like a rocket. So there's a lot to be seen. I would hold practice maybe with a little bit of a grain of salt. It's going to be really, really sunny when they run practice. It's going to be sunny when they do qualifying. but I would check with your guys that are more built for long run speed. If you're somebody that likes to gamble or do FanDuel lineups, listen to what the crew chiefs are saying, because they will give you a lot of hints about what is the right thing to do. If you hear a guy that go, yeah, we expect to qualify 12th, but we got this car built for, 7 o'clock at night, that's a bigger deal. Because it will start to get dark. It won't be pure dark, but it will start to get dark, and that track will change a lot.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the nail. I think if we look back at Larson last year in practice, he was like top 5. I mean, like still solid. And then when he came race time, he was, butt kicking every bit of it. So I expect a good one. I think people are a little bit more comfortable running the wall now for the sake of. Can you hear me?
Still? I can hear you. You're not in my mic anymore, but I can hear you on my computer screen.
Oh, interesting. So, but no, I think that, it's a grain of salt. I mean, practice, I think anywhere you go to anymore, they practice at like 10 o'clock in the morning now. Vegas, they were practicing, 8 o'clock. It's sometimes practice anymore is a grain of salt. You got to really put that in perspective. I think if we look at, I know it's a different car, but I think if you look at Chris Buescher 2 years ago when William Byron won, Chris Buescher came from like 15th and took the lead and led, 50, 60, 70 laps. And then when the sun went down, he was nowhere to be seen the rest of the race. So, that's a perfect example of like, oh crap, like, Roush is back. And then it's like, oh gosh, like he fell immediately to the back. So for grain of salt, I expect, like Larson has nothing to lose. I've always said this. He's going to run the wall no matter what. Reddick's going to run the wall. I think he's got to be aggressive. I think Ryan Blaine's going to be the guy in the middle. Truex is going to be almost at the wall, but not in the wall. Denny's going to be in the middle. So it's going to be, like I said, it's going to be multiple grain lane track, and it's always fun. I mean, I wish they would run there twice. I don't know why they don't. There's probably some numbers there, but my Lord, like what a fun track.
Yeah, it definitely is one of the best tracks on the circuit. I would say, man, it's tough. If I had to pick a guy, I'd probably pick Tyler Reddick. I don't feel confident about it, but also I kind of feel confident enough because he has to run well. I mean, if you look at the standings right now, here are the standings, minus 15 points. He has to run well. He can't just coast in this. He can't. He definitely won't make it to where it's a must-win race if he has a good showing, like a top 5. But he also can't just sit there and not get stage points too. So I feel like Tyler Reddick is a guy that will be pushing the envelope. And as you know, Travis, the 2 inches between your back of the car and the wall are the difference between being fast or possibly being last.
Yeah. I'm going to make a absolute bold prediction of the race say that Denny Hamlin's going to finish outside the top 10.
All right. Still
he didn't show I think he didn't show me anything in Vegas. I know they're a different track, but he didn't show me anything in Vegas that was, whatever. I think Christopher Rebel out of that camp shows a little bit of momentum. I think he's going to do decent, although he's not very much a person that will, which kind of shocks me as a dirt background. He doesn't get all the way up there, although he ran really high in Vegas.
A lot higher than your guy.
Yeah, he did. Oh gosh. What a whew. So that's my bold prediction. I think Denny's gonna finish outside the top 10. That's gonna be my bold preview. Whatever you take that, whatever. I could be wrong. We could replay this. You might as well take a video of this right here, and then you're gonna tell me I got the biggest L or that I was correct. So I don't know. It's going to be a good race. It's got multiple lanes. Next Gen loves that type of stuff. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see how long until people get up into the fence. Like how long until they like get all the way up there. I think Larson has nothing to lose. He's going to immediately get up there. I think Tyler Reddick sees that he's got 15 points. It's either now or never because I don't see him even getting close to winning that at Martinsville. So it's going to be fun. I think you're going to see some people. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, Travis, this is the time where we go into a segment that you've been calling for and that we have a new thing for it. So this, at the end of the show, is where we burn it down. All right. So burn it down is where we give a quick thought before we jump off here, and I will lead this puppy off. My burn it down thought for you guys as we wrap this up is that I think that Phoenix this year will show why NASCAR needs to move away from the track, and that I think it will get enough grief for where NASCAR will next year use it one last time, because it is not a great racetrack. It's definitely not what the pinnacle of the NASCAR season should be, as in what real racing looks like. You want a track that really puts your driver to the test. You want a track that, really shows and encapsulates the entire season. And I feel like one last chance for Phoenix to show that it is not a great track, no matter how great it looks on TV, no matter how great it feels to be there when it comes to all the different things that they've changed to it. I feel like the NASCAR community will get behind. The only way this doesn't happen is if we have something completely unseen for and we have like a green, white checker to win it. Maybe that will buy it enough, but I don't think it will. So I'm predicting here that here soon, Phoenix will be asked to burn in the desert that it is in and probably deserves to be in.
Mm-hmm. Good one. I think you wanted to go first because you wanted to get yours out of your head. That's the reason you wanted to go first. That's my burn it down for the week. No, I think as NASCAR fans and as NASCAR, my burn it down is that we need to not focus on the crumb on the ground, but focus on the mess on the table. And what I mean by that is we are focused on the crumb on the floor in TV ratings when we should be focusing on the mess on the table with the short track package, road course package, and things like that. We're so worried about the little bitty mess of, oh, the TV ratings are bad. That's why I'm not going to watch. Like, well, who cares? Like, if you're going to watch, you're going to watch. If you're not going to watch, you're just not. It is what it is. You're either going to watch it or you're not going to watch it. There's no in between. Or record it. I guess there's an in between, but you're either going to watch it or you're not. But how about we quit focusing on the viewership of the how many views on the crumb on the floor, and how about we focus on, hey, let's change the package of the short track and road courses, because a mile and a half are kicking all those rear ends and all the stats in that. I know that this was a mile and a half, but how about we quit focusing on the crumb on the floor with the viewership, and how about we focus on how do we improve the package that we're trying to show to the fans that say, hey, like, we're interested. We're here to, compete with the NFLs and things like that.
I agree with you 100%. I actually was thinking about the short track package being one of my thoughts, but I decided to let it go, let that burn for a different day, because I actually was going to make a prediction that we might see a different short track package next year, but
yeah,
I'm not there yet. I didn't have the confidence in the cojones to announce it.
Yeah.
So
Hey, Truex fan 19, his burn it down is Seabell's an underdog.
yeah.
Can you get that one on there? That's his burn it down.
That's his burn it down.
That's his burn it down.
His parents are going to burn it down if he doesn't get into bed here soon. So
night.
We better let him go. So again, that is how we burn it down. Let us know what your guys' thoughts are on the show. Let us know who you got predicted to win Homestead-Miami. These are the ways that you can find us. If you're just now tuning in for the first time, we are on Facebook, Second the Catch Fence. If you want to help support the show at the Patreon, it's there. You don't have to do it. 100% free just to click the subscribe button. That helps more than anything. And we are also at Rumble if you do not like to use YouTube and would rather use something else, whether you're finding us on Facebook, Rumble, or on YouTube. Those are the different avenues you can find us as well. So for the show, my name's Ryan Peters, the money man, Travis Butt, the guy that doesn't have to worry about anything this weekend because his driver burned it down last weekend. Say so long, and we'll catch you in the post-race show on Sunday.